Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, call to order tonight's meeting of May 17th, 2021, with all members present. We have an open forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the board tonight? Okay, seeing none, we want to go to number 4, celebrating our district successes. 4.1, Kathy, the licensed school nurses first.
So, I am very honored to talk with you and present just a certificate of recognition and appreciation for our school nurses tonight. And so, Lisa Duggar, who's been here for how many years? 16. Mary, her first year here, but she has been a licensed school nurse for many years. Lawrence Maybe and Kari Osheim are not able to be with us tonight as they had some obligations with their own family. But I just am it has been an amazingly challenging year for these women. And I think that I've never been so proud to work with such professionals as this group of women. They have done everything to keep our schools, our staff, and our students safe this year, above and beyond what we could ask. I know our daily meetings with the superintendent, myself, some chuckles, some frustrations, but they are the consummate professionals, and I just am so proud to have you recognize their work. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This culture award around, and you get to have your picture taken. And I'm going to have Lisa stay here. And I'm going to ask Danny Bryant to come up with her.
Thank you so much.
As Dr. Funk talked with you about a couple of weeks ago, we really want to take an opportunity in the district to start this year recognizing employees a little more often than we have and a little more broadly across the district. And so we put out a very simple nomination form to employees across the district a few weeks ago, and we asked employees to think about their colleagues this year and who they would like to nominate as an employee of the month to be recognized here at the end of the year. Myself and my HR staff, we got to review those and read those nominations. We had a little over 20 nominations this year, and as we read through the nominations, it was really clear that our staff appreciate teachers and paraeducators and custodians and support staff and nurses and administrators. It was really a nice selection, but in reviewing them all and thinking about the work that's been done at the district, we really wanted to recognize 2 people in particular. And the first one is, do I know what's here? Danny Bryant. Danny Bryant is the administrative assistant to Mark Grosclose at the high school, and this is what was said about her. Danny is the ultimate multitasker. She is always pleasant, even with a line of people wanting her help if you've been at the high school in the morning, and many phone interruptions. She is thoughtful, selfless, and caring of others. She makes me proud of our community. And so I know that in our work with Danny this year, I call her 5342 all times of day. And Danny, do you know this? Do you know that? Can you get this? Can you get that? She really represents not only her work at the high school, but really all of our support staff and our administrative assistants this year. They have done a phenomenal job. So our first employee of the month is Danny Bryant. And in addition, we'd like to recognize Lisa Duggar. Lisa was nominated by multiple people, so I'll just read what they had to say. Lisa has gone above and beyond this entire school year to keep everyone in our district safe and has done so with a kind and caring attitude. I am thankful for Lisa. This year has been so hard on so many, and Lisa has put in the time to try to keep everyone together on the same page. Lisa makes sure everyone is doing okay, and her concern is always about the best for the students of this district. She has been such a great person to work with, always as positive and helpful as anyone needs. Lisa puts others over herself and is so dedicated to everyone. So our second employee of the month is Lisa Duggar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, hold on one second. I want to make this an official. Would you like to be our speaker this year at commencement?
I would be honored to do that.
Well, thank you very much. Lisa's going to be our commencement speaker this year. And, you know, as we talked about this, we always have a special person every year. Kim got to do it last year, and all the extra work and, how can I say, probably emotions that went into this last year plus for you. I thought it'd be a wonderful thing if you would do it for us. So the seniors would love that.
What a way to end the year, watching these students walk across and graduate. It's what all of us in the community have worked for.
Well, thank you very much. We'll see you Friday.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to number 5, approval of today's agenda, and I would look for a motion to approve. So moved. A motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Kim seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose the same sign. Okay. Number 6 would be our consent items. And I'd look for a motion to approve all the consent items with one motion.
I'll move to approve.
Kim moves to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Neil would second. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And oppose the same sign. Okay, motion carries. Number 7, reports. Dr. Funk.
So first up is a couple staff updates for you. I actually had 24. I talked to Tammy right before the meeting. She's got 23 years of service to the district, and the last 6 have been as the Executive Director of Special Services. I've asked Tammy to come back on the 21st of June, and we can formally recognize her for all of her great years within the school district. And the other thing I'd like to say is, since Chris Dibble is moving over to Albert Lee High School, his position is vacant. We are interviewing 7 candidates for that position early next week, and we've got a mix of internal and external candidates for that position. So looks like a pretty good pool of people to select from there. So that's a quick update on that. We talked about summer school a couple months ago. We said we were hoping to get around 300. We're actually at 315 for grades 1 through 8 for summer school, which will be at Hawthorne. We anticipate about 125 students for credit recovery at the high school, and special services has about 140, and that will be taking place at Lakeview. Summer programming will run from June 7th to July 1st. We'll also be running free meals as part of that as well for breakfast and lunch for really any student within the community. And we will be getting the free meal information out as we get closer to summer here. So really good turnout for summer school. One of the things that we are waiting guidance on from the Department of Education regarding summer school is what are the rules requirements regarding masking, social distancing, etc. And right now they're basically, here's kind of what the CDC guidance is, and we're going to let school districts decide. So we really don't know at this point, but more to come as we get ever-changing guidance from the department moving forward here. Just wanted to mention concerts. We have a concert at 7 p.m. tonight. We've gone Tigers Roar, I was at a band concert last week in the auditorium. Our choir concert will be in the gymnasium because there's more people. And I believe the orchestra concert was outside, actually. So it was great to see performing arts. Once again, we've had athletics throughout the school year in some form or another. So it was finally really nice to hear some of our kids performing again. And we're looking forward to some more music tonight at the gymnasium. Last day of school is going to be May 26th, which is next Wednesday, with staff finishing on the 27th. And Kathy will be coming up here with her COVID report, providing a little more information on what's going to be going on with some of the students next week. And that's my report.
Okay. Any questions at all for Dr. Funk?
For the credit recovery for the summer, how does 125 compare to our normal amounts, and are we able to meet the need that we have with that?
Yeah, I had just had a phone call with Johanna Thomas about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and she said that's pretty typical for what we're seeing. She said we will start out with that amount, and she said kids will get caught up within the first few weeks, and we'll see those numbers actually drop. The other thing I want to mention on the credit recovery piece is we are also required to do an online component of that this summer. So we will have technology available to students if they want to do it from home.
Are those included in the 125?
We've only had one request so far, so yes, within that. Yep, at this point.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with school board reports. Angie, I'll start on your side.
All right, is it on? All right. I attended the Business Education Committee earlier this month, and it was pretty low-key, kind of a quick, light meeting. A lot of our core members were not there, so most of the topics that we usually cover actually didn't have any updates. But the two main things we talked about, again, we covered kind of planning for some training for new managers here in town. And then we had just kind of a good, long, general discussion on how tough it's been for employers locally and nationally to find employees right now. So I don't think we solved the problem, but we talked about it. Good discussion, so that was that.
Thank you, ma'am. Dennis.
I was one of those absent from business ed, so I hope you're not saying that because I wasn't there. It was a really good, fast meeting. But yeah, I was out of town for that, so thanks for covering that. Really nothing else to report.
Thank you. Kim.
I was also absent, so I thought the same thing, Dennis. But I did attend the policy committee meeting, and we'll talk about, you were there, yeah. And so we'll be talking about that tonight. And then I was able to attend and help at one of the track meets. So that was really cool to see our track full of people, and even in this year. So that was really nice.
Good. Thank you, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Neil?
Yeah. I find that I'm spending an awful lot of time with the Education Foundation, which is a delightful way to pass your time. And right now, high on my list of things to do is to gather candidates for the Distinguished Alumni and Distinguished Educator recognitions, which will be presented on October 14th at the Wedgwood Cove in the evening, 5:30ish and so on, but there will be further announcements on that. Tyler, you could help out by pointing out in your article covering the board meeting tonight that we are looking for candidates, and anyone who is interested in nominating someone can obtain nomination forms at our foundation website, which is ALED, Arborlee Education, aledfoundation.org. So put in a pitch for us, please. A free newspaper article. We also have a Hall of Fame banquet coming up on September 25th, the same place, same time at the Cove. So that's October 14th for the Distinguished Educator, Distinguished Alumni, September 25th for the Athletic Hall of Fame. And those are events for which the proceeds go to help students. And it's a lot of fun to touch base with a lot of people that you perhaps haven't seen for a long time and would like to see again. That's it.
Thank you, Neil. Jill?
I attended the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drugs Prevention Committee meeting where a presentation was given about the Halo vape sensors that have been installed at Alden Conger and several other high schools in Minnesota. The Alcohol, Tobacco, and Other Drugs Committee collaborated with local law enforcement and the schools to send out the annual letters to graduating seniors' families, and the letters encourage families to be aware of substance use issues surrounding the year-end festivities, and they were sent out to about 275 families in the county. I attended the Spring Positive Community Norms training. It was about a 2-day training, along with the Family Services Collaborative Facilitator, Jenny Hendrickson, and we learned more about the grant for which we've applied and heard what the last cohort was able to accomplish using that grant. I was not able to attend the policy committee meeting because the facilities meeting was scheduled for the same time, so I did request that standing committee meetings not be double booked if possible in the future. I attended the facilities committee meeting. The facilities plan was discussed for the coming years, and handicapped accessibility concerns were brought up concerning the Hammerfield complex.
Thank you. Bruce?
I also attended the facility committee meeting. It was, I thought it was very informative. We went over this year's project and the 10-year plan. Some of the biggest projects this year is plumbing at Hawthorne. Hawthorne is built in 54, so they're going to finally redo the restrooms after 67 years. Heat pumps at the high school, they're replacing them now. That's a long-term project. They're going to start this year. Lockers are being painted at Helverson. Roof at Helverson, gym floor at the high school, Southwest flooring, and skylights at Southwest are some of the major projects this year.
Good. Thank you, Bruce. And I don't have any committees to report on, and hopefully they're all going to start back up again soon. All right, let's see. We've got student reports. Let's try Esther first. You could grab Dr. Funk's mic if you'd like.
I guess, Dr. Funk mentioned this earlier in his report, but the orchestra concert was last Friday, and it was supposed to be outdoors, but it got moved indoors due to the chance of rain. And Tigers Roar was a success, and it was good to be able to play music again. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Aaron? One of your last reports, right?
Yeah, I think it's actually my last one.
Yeah.
I think this is my last, after almost 2 years, my last meeting on the board, so it's very surreal feeling graduating on Friday, and this is my last meeting. It feels just like yesterday. I was sitting, I think, pretty close to where Jill's sitting now, and yeah, just a really weird feeling. But yeah, like Esther said, we had some concerts last week. I was at the band concert and also at Tigers Roar. They both went very good. And then, like I said already, this is my last meeting on the board, and I know before I came here, I just went and looked through. I kept all my agendas that I write my notes on and stuff from my first meeting to now, and I was looking back at those old agendas, and on my first or second one, I think it was, I had little questions written there. One was like, what does ELL mean? So it's, yeah, I know what that means now, so it's really fun to look back then and be like, wow, I didn't know what that meant then. So yeah, and then it's just been an awesome 2 years. I know there have been some really cool things that I got to be a part of, such as touring the Halverson and the Gustafson Field upgrades. That was pretty cool because I've never done anything like that before. Obviously, there were some not so great parts, such as when we shut down because of COVID, and any of those tough COVID-related decisions that the board had to make weren't too fun. But then the only other thing I want to say is that obviously we've had new changes to the guidelines on COVID with removal of the mask mandate and removal of some of the social distancing requirements. And I know I would just like to politely ask the board that for the commencement ceremony this Friday, that the number of guests that each graduate gets to bring with them be increased from 4 to 8. this, just to revert it back to what it usually is in a normal year. I know it would be really appreciated by a number of students. I've had an overwhelming number of students come to me and ask if this is something that the board can do, and I just feel like it's something that would really be appreciated. So I would again politely ask the board that that be considered. Thank you so much. For just 2 years, really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron, for your help. You bet. Your great report. And I think Dr. Funk will report on that a little later, that it was considered. Well, Laura Wangen from the ALEA.
All right. Hello there. My name is Laura Wangen. I'm the secretary for ALEA. I know most of you. If you don't, thank you for serving on the board. The end of the year is in sight. That's a huge deep breath, lots of relief. We're going to make it. Promise we'll make it. This year has been one of the most challenging years of teaching in my career, and I know in many of your own careers. And I'm thankful for the collaboration by every person in the district, no matter how big or small their role was. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes roles and a lot of work that went in behind the scenes that we didn't even know about. So thank you to everyone. Big thank you. The nurses left already, but they were vital in the success of the year that we had. The only thing that was constant this year was change itself. I highlighted just on my prep today a few traits of a teacher that have emerged during COVID. Teachers in and of themselves are strong communicators. The mode of communication has changed. Talking through computers and talking online, it's not ideal for anyone, but we made it work in order to provide student support instead of that individual face-to-face collaboration interaction. Teachers are adaptable. We also had to change our plans on the spot today. I was doing my fast testing for first hour. All of a sudden, at the end of it, the internet went out. And you can't fast test when you don't have the internet. So we changed it. I flipped on the spot for second and third hour to just watch Newsies, which is the end of the propaganda unit. It worked. They're just a day ahead, so we'll flip-flop there. We had to be adaptable every day this year, and we took it in stride. Teachers demonstrated and showed empathy as a whole. We truly did not know or understand student situations during hybrid, for example, but we had to connect with each and every student as best as we could on a daily basis. Teachers demonstrated patience. Speaking on my own behalf, I know that I gave students tons of wiggle room when it came to dates of assignments or projects being due in order to best support their needs or support. I was patient when things were often late. Teachers, this is a big one. Teachers were pushed out of their comfort levels. Technology was a big part of our learning and teaching toolkit this year. I know that myself, I had to explore new routes of technology, and a lot of other teachers, especially the older teachers that we have in our district, had to explore lots of technology that they weren't necessarily comfortable with. A huge shout out to all the technology crews in our district as a whole, and also a big shout out to the DLA, District Learning Academy teachers. We all know that even though the technology was a positive thing, nothing will ever replace the true face-to-face contact and interaction that teachers have on a daily basis. Teachers also promoted lifelong learners. This is a huge one. The students themselves amazed me with their perseverance when it came to learning online. What we were asking them to do typically isn't asked of any student until they enter the college level. And we were asking that out of our first-year learners, which was amazing that they could do it. Our teaching and learning situation this year was not ideal, but students and teachers made the most of the experience as a whole. As next year approaches, it is very, very, very important to not focus on the learning loss from this year, but just meet the students at where they are at. End with a few thank yous. Thank you to all the District Learning Academy teachers, some of who volunteer and some of who were assigned their spots. I know that those teachers are looking forward to being face-to-face with students once again. Thank you to the teachers who were put into position or a role this year in order to fill those adjustments that were necessary. Thank you to all the district employees for making a positive year for students and families. And people that are often overlooked throughout this process were the students and the families themselves. As a whole, just the learning curve that came with COVID, we're very thankful that the families were adaptable with the situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And teachers. Okay, let's go to number 8, Safe and Healthy Schools, 8.1, our COVID update with Kathy Niebuhr.
So the best thing up there is 0. We have had 0 cases since last week, so over a week. 0 cases today. So we sit at 300 for the year thus far and 66 for fourth quarter. I know, and then we have actually 1 student left in quarantine from last week, so, or 2 weeks ago. Very good numbers. And just some other information, as I said, 0 positives last week, 0 positives today. We have about 20 students, staff who've been excluded today due to symptoms, and that's pretty much daily what we do. And, you know, most of those will either get tested or seek an alternate diagnosis. Exciting news on the vaccination front. Now that we can go ages 12 and up, I will say Mayo Clinic Health Systems was very proactive and met with us on Monday, and by Wednesday we had a plan. So on May 25th, Mayo Clinic Health Systems will be bringing a team of vaccinators on site to Southwest at 9:30. And they right now have slots for 42 that can sign up, and Ashley is monitoring those slots, and we're working with Mayo staff. If they need more slots, we could go from 4 to 6. And those, of course, require informed parental consent. And then that team will move to the high school at noon on site, and again, 42, and will expand if needed. The second dose for all of those students will be held on June 15th at the high school from 4 to 7 p.m., and that probably will be in the Commons. We also have a group going to Health Reach tomorrow that were our 16 and older group. Those we provided busing for. They'll get their second dose tomorrow at Health Reach. And then they've also reached out to the students getting the sports physicals at Mayo Clinic Health Systems at the clinic on May 19th. They will also do a first dose there with informed consent and make arrangements for a second dose. So we are really excited to have Mayo come on site to do this for our students. And we hope we get a good response. And we know that they're doing that for other communities as well, so appreciate that. We also, as Dr. Funk said, we await summer school guidance. There are some possibly local decisions to be made, and then the CDC is supposed to come out with some guidance in a little bit. We know at graduation we will have to make just that general announcement that if you have that temperature of 100.4 or higher or have flu-like symptoms, we'd ask that you not attend. It is the recommendation that we still maintain 6 feet guidance between households through May 27th. So that recommendation is still there. It's not a requirement, but it is a recommendation. And then that the mask is required in outdoor venues with over 500 attendees. So we'll be requiring masks of all who attend. So it's kind of where we're at. Any questions?
I have a question on the sports physicals. So with informed consent, they can receive a first dose, but it's totally voluntary for them?
All of these are voluntary,
Yeah.
correct.
And then, so if they do not receive a vaccination, it does not preclude them from participating in sports in the future?
Correct.
Thank you.
Kathy, I have a question relative to that. Has there been any talk about students, not just in our district, but in the state or the nation for that matter, being required to be vaccinated? I'm not an expert on this subject, and I'm certainly not campaigning for such an event to occur, but it seems to me that aren't there other physical maladies for which students are required to be vaccinated? Is there any discussion about the possibility that maybe COVID might be included in that category at some time?
I mean, surely that, MMR, Hep B, all of those childhood immunizations that are quite required for schools, as Tammy reported, I think a couple meetings ago, how we will send the letter out to families who are not vaccinated, et cetera. I guess it remains to be seen what happens with the COVID.
It's still in an
vaccination.
emergency authorization status. It doesn't have permanent authorization yet. None of the vaccines do. So until they receive formal approval from the FDA, we will not have the ability to do that. But that's a fair question when we have measles, rubella, all sorts of other vaccines that we exclude students from school unless they have a conscientious objective reason from not doing them.
And do those general guidelines come from the state or from federal?
I think they're from the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, those are from the state. We also have, a few Osha guidelines for one group of employees. Our custodians have to have, I believe, 2 different shots.
Yeah, and along those same lines, again, I'm not serving as an advocate for mandating vaccination by any means, but if it does become a possibility, is this something that we would decide locally, or is this something that would be visited upon us from a higher power someplace?
I think it would be visited upon us from the higher power.
Anything else?
Yes.
Angie?
I was just wondering what the response has been from students so far. Are they wanting the vaccine? Do you know a number of how many have signed up?
We have not looked at the sign up yet today. It went out on Thursday, and then we have the translated Spanish and Korean going out as well.
We met with Mayo last week, and they said a small district east of Austin, they initially had 42 allocated to that district. Over 90 people signed up. So very positive in that community. So it remains to be seen. But I also would like to just state the numbers. Go back a slide, Ashley. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, 0, 0. We've been in this thing since over a year ago now, and I have not seen numbers like that since the start of it. So something's working.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Okay, number 10 then, legislative update, Dr. Funk.
I was hoping to give you a lot more tonight. They did reach their budget targets. I've got 0 on policy, but I can tell you this. The House and Senate have agreed to a $525 million increase over their base level funding for the next biennium. Put that in context, for a 2% increase on the formula for 2 and 2 for both years would be about $400 million. So it's $400 million plus something for potentially the cross subsidy for special education. The other thing I do know is $75 million is in there for summer school statewide, which the governor was really pushing. So that is from a financial angle, that is a big success for school districts in Minnesota. So very good news as far as that goes. And again, this is what the committees have agreed to. We will see. They will not approve this formally till June. And at that point, I will provide you a detailed analysis of what the budget approved financially and through policy changes.
Good news. All right, 10.2 then, we have a graduation update.
Yes. So, I think we have been riding a whiplash train here as a school district over the past few weeks with different announcements coming from both the federal and the state government. And so people, okay, great, we can take our mask off. Ooh, everything is good. So that comes out on, the governor talks on Thursday. Well, then about 2 hours later, I get an email from the Department of Education. Yep, masks can come off, but not for you guys, all right? Not for schools. So then okay, great, now after May 28th, we can go back to normal for outdoor events. Yep, but if you have an event that takes place before May 28th, different set of rules applies. So go ahead to the next slide. So what I'm going to cover real quickly here is guidance that was put out initially on May 6th, and then it was updated on May 13th after we received the governor's updated guidance. So this is for outdoor venues. Can you zoom that a little bit, Ashley? You can probably close that window. Okay, just scroll. Keep on going. Right. Keep on going, one more page. Or is that it? All right, go back up. Okay, so this is for outdoor venues. Can you zoom a little bit more, if possible? Hit present and see what it does. And those three buttons you were just present. The three buttons in the upper right-hand corner. There you go. Okay, so this is from May 13th, late last week. Recommendations: implement and maintain social distance of 6 feet between all persons or groups. Recommend social distancing between households. Reduce occupant capacity to allow for sufficient space for persons or groups outdoors to maintain 6 feet. Ensure the patrons maintain social distancing. So this is in effect until May 27th. So go ahead and go back to the slideshow. All right, so here's our situation at Oberle High School. Knowing the limitations that we've had, about a month ago, the administration requested that families receive 4 tickets due to spacing constraints. They also have taken a look at the stadium. We're going to have the choir there. We're going to have, the graduates are going to be there, and of course, the families are going to be there. So we heard your request, Aaron, and we looked at it. Capacity on the home side of the stadium, which is what the plan is, just to use the home like we did last summer, is 1,700 people. That's with it 18 inches separating people. If we increase tickets to 8, it would be, we're planning on about 200 graduates. It would be 1,600 people with no social distancing, completely inconsistent with the state recommendations. The other thing we looked at is, could we turn people around, potentially face the graduates one way and have people on the other side. We've told families you're getting 4 tickets. We don't have a plan as of today for the other side of the stadium, and how we would get people across there. And so am I saying we can't do it? Potentially. But that's kind of where we're at as far as that piece of it goes. But we can't get 1,600 people on the home new side of the stadium. So my recommendation is, if a family's got extenuating circumstances and they need more tickets, yeah, we can get a few more people on that home side. And we should work with the high school administration on a case-by-case basis to do it. If we were to suddenly tell folks, okay, well, we told you for a month that you get 4 tickets, and the rules really haven't changed for us because we're still under the same rules we were, and suddenly now we're going to let you have 6 or 8, you're going to get pushback from the community that says, well, I was going to have my grandparents come, but I was told that you didn't have enough tickets, so now they're not coming. So this is the plan we've been going with. Can we adjust it? Yeah, potentially. But again, this is the safest model that we thought we would be able to accommodate moving forward here. And the other thing we thought is, well, we have 4 tickets this year. Last year we limited it to 2. And I think in a typical year, I think I've never had a need for 8 or 10 tickets at Overly High School. I don't think we'd have the capacity in that gymnasium to have 8 or 10 tickets per person. So anyhow, that's our thought on the situation. Just go ahead a slide for a second. Weather for Friday night, partly cloudy is the forecast from this afternoon. 3% chance of rain, temperature in the low 80s, winds gusting 20 to 23 miles per hour. So weather's looking okay for the event. So I'm certainly open to discussion with the board on that. But if we were to expand, we would have to look at a total different footprint and how we're going to lay this thing out.
Dr. Funk, I have a quick question that has been asked by the public. Will you be broadcasting it live again?
Yes, we will be broadcasting it live stream, and I think Power 96 will also be operating a live stream through their site.
Jill.
Although I understand the issue that if somebody did want their grandparents to come and they weren't able to make those arrangements at the last minute, I do believe that increasing from 4 to 8 could be possible. As you said, if we turn the footprint and use both sides of the bleachers, to me that would have, I believe, a positive effect for more families than if we just said we need to stay with what we've said. I mean, we were just saying earlier today that this whole year has been about flexibility and change, and so I think it would be understood that we kind of had this plan, but now things are looking better, the numbers are looking better, state and federal are changing mandates, and so it would make sense to change the footprint and use our facility to the fullest so that we can have as many graduate guests as they can have.
Any other thoughts, Kim?
So I have a couple of comments. So just to give you perspective, Minnesota State colleges and universities told their presidents that they had to decide on how they were going to do their graduations this year. In February, they had to make that decision because of the logistics involved, and yes, most of those colleges and universities are more students, and so that looks a little different. So just to put that in perspective about the logistics of changing or pivoting for graduation, I'm concerned about that for our staff. And I could be wrong, but I think in past it's been more like 6 tickets that families get in a normal year. And then you could, on a first come, first served basis, if you wanted more people, then you would let the administration know. So very similar to what we're going to do this year, like if there were situations. So my concern would be while we have all year, faced adversity and pivoted, I'm concerned on just the communication, the ability to communicate that out and pivot in a week like that, logistically. I think our staff could totally do it, but who is that message not getting to? And are we gonna have more, is it gonna be difficult for our staff? And so I'm concerned about that. I also believe that going from 2 to 4, from some of the concerns we had last year from people about, it would be nice if we could have 4 tickets because we might have, we have a split family or something like that. So I feel like we're addressing that with the 4. That's my thoughts.
Angie?
I would echo what Jill had said. I think with the recent changes in the mandates, people are really itching to get back to normal, and if it is possible, I know those are some valid concerns with the staff. If it is possible to turn on a dime, I would support that. Would it be more feasible to do 6 instead of 8, or is it a problem no matter what?
I don't think it's a number. I think we have a few people who want extra tickets. And if those people want extra tickets, I think they work with the high school administration, and we're flexible with them. This has not been a big issue. Mark, have you had a lot of pushback as the high school principal on the 4?
Mark's gone right now.
Okay. I've heard, until this weekend, I heard 0 pushback.
Well, we are up 100% from last year, from 2 to 4. So we did give a little bit more, and I think, like you said, there's probably not an overall amount of people asking for 6 to 8 tickets. So if they would work with them at the high school, I think that would be a good solution, like they have in the past. I don't remember getting over 6 in a normal year, as we call it, with my kids, but that's been a number of years ago. I don't remember exactly. Neil?
Yeah, I've said many times there's nothing good about this COVID pandemic. And none of the resulting decisions are favorable. And this is probably another example of that. And as the way I see it is the only way that we can present something that is favorable would be to defy the mandates that have been handed to us by State Department. And I don't really I don't want to get into that category this time. If we pursue courses that are contrary to that which has been mandated, we add to chaos and confusion, and I'm particularly against chaos and confusion. So the option of opening up both sides, we have that in the gymnasium at the high school, but that's a very small place, and you can be on either side and you can still pretty well see what's going on, even though now you have a rectangular. I would assume that the stage and the students would be on one end of the football, or toward one end of the football field. People on either side I would think there wouldn't be any good seats. I see an awful lot of, it'd be problematic to try to have fill up seats on both sides of the stage. So, and then hearing the comments that typically we know there isn't that great. I mean, we typically have 6 to 8. I'm not familiar with this. If we can be flexible to the extent of accommodating those that have a dire need, I would think that would be sufficient. I mean, but again, it's not what everybody wants, but I don't think anybody wanted a pandemic either.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I don't think there would be as much pushback as expected. I don't think anyone's going to complain if you go to them and say, hey, you can have an additional 2 tickets if you want. I understand that 8 is a lot. I know that 6 would probably be a more realistic number. But I don't think anyone would complain about getting those extra 2 tickets. And if some people don't need the extra 2 tickets, they just won't use them, and then we don't have any issues there. People would obviously still have to register for those tickets before the actual commencement ceremony, so we'd still have an idea going into the actual ceremony what our numbers are going to look like. And I just want to say, I've definitely had more students come to me asking for this than I've had any other thing the entire time I've been on the school board. I do think a lot of students want at least 6. I know I have one grandparent and my sister who can't come. I had to pick and choose between grandparents. And I mean, I'm not like a special case. My parents aren't divorced, so I don't feel like I need to go to high school to ask for a special circumstance. And I feel like that's the situation a lot of other students are in as well. So again, I understand that 6 would probably be a more realistic number, and I'm telling you, we'd be happy with anything. 6 would definitely make our student body happy in our senior class. So again, I would politely ask that we
And in the conversation, I've heard, extenuating circumstances or dire need, and I'm curious of how that would even be negotiated, because it seems that an equitable distribution would make more sense and be best for most families, because if we're thinking there's going to be a communication problem, letting people know they are getting free tickets, and then you're going to tell them you need to express to us extenuating circumstances or a dire need. To me, that's a greater communication issue, and it's a circumstance of less equity.
Dennis?
If you extend it to 6, does that allow to stay on one side with 1,200, or what is?
I don't know, I'd have to get out, I mean, I'm not, I don't know. Okay? I mean, they're telling us 6 feet apart between families, all right? So you're talking families, 2, 4, 6 people, okay? I don't think you're gonna be able to keep them all on one side.
How is it set up out there? How is the ceremony gonna, the stage or whatever?
So currently, and again, we're setting up as we did last year. So basically, in the middle of the field is where the graduates sit, and they're facing the visiting stands. The stage is facing the home stands. So the stage is in front of the graduates. And then behind is the visiting stands where the graduates, basically they stage there. So they go in, they sit down, and they then come from there down onto the field, and then they come out. So the recommendation was to do that same method again, so we have a spot for the graduates, okay? We don't know, we can stage them maybe in the parking lot behind the field house or in front of the field house, but we don't have a spot right now to stage them. So if we were to use 2 sides, the logistics is, all right, how do we decide who sits on that side and who sits on this side? Then how do we get people from, and what if we say, okay, well, this amount of people are going to sit over here, well, what if they have wheelchairs? Yep, now you're going to have to take your chair all the way over with your family because your family's over there. We would have more support people guiding people from one side to the other. We could have people with wheelchairs park in the field house parking lot. But there's a lot of just moving pieces that a few weeks ago, Mark came to me and said he wants to use one side. He's looked at this, and him and Paul got out, they measured, and they said one side, and I said, okay, you've got 4 tickets a person, that's where it is. So if we were to go 2 sides, we would have some of those issues, and then we would have to make a determination on if we face the graduates towards the scoreboard, where's the sun going to be in their eyes? Because they should, I mean, they won't, if they're facing the field house, they won't be able to see the scoreboard, and we have all the graduates streaming on the scoreboard. And so if we put them on the field house side, people will be looking at their graduate, but their scoreboard, their graduate's up here on the big screen, so which direction should they be looking at? So those are all just little factors that we're taking into account while trying to plan this thing. So that's why I say, yeah, we can do it, but it's, and we had a track meet that because of the choir concert tonight, we had a track meet that we had to move, and it was going to be Thursday. Nope, we're setting up, so we moved it to Wednesday, so we can set up on Thursday. I mean, so there's just a lot of pieces in this, but.
Yeah, so Mike, you said a few weeks ago, then that's when the students were told that they get 4. So I want people to put it in perspective. So if we pivot and add 2, and Aaron, you have great ideas, but I'm wondering who is going to do that communication with what else is on their plate right now. And getting those those tickets out and that logistics of that's concerning for me in 3 or 4 days. Not just the field, but if it's 4 weeks it took us to get that 4 tickets out, and get that all situated. You're asking to, I wish Danny was here because she could tell you what that looks like. That's my concern, is that we're going to ask staff to do something that is going to be very intense. And I know they can do it. I'm concerned that we're gonna have people that are missed, and then that becomes an issue as well. And to Jill's point, I think in the past, if we called and said, hey, I have grandparents from out of town that want to attend, if there were tickets left, so I don't think it had to be necessarily dire or specific situations. I think they just took them as they could, but knowing that they were on a first come, first served basis. So once our ticket count was done, that's what we had, because the high school was restrictive indoors for how many tickets. So it's a very similar kind of feel.
Angie?
I think these are all good points and it's good information. I think people would really appreciate having the option to go. I'd like to make a motion that we increase it to 6 and see where that goes.
I don't really know if a motion is in order, since it's more of an operational issue. But you made the motion, and we'll see if there's a second. I gotta go with it. Okay, Jill seconded it. Any other discussion? Aaron?
Yeah, so I know what Kim's saying. Yes, it would be a bit of a time crunch, but I've also heard say we can do it. And I think seniors Kim, you experienced this last year. This is one day. Seniors get this opportunity one time in their life. If we can do it, we should do it. Seniors deserve this. They worked hard to be on this stage on Friday, and they persevered through an incredibly tough year. So I think if we can do it, we should do it.
Dr. Funk? Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, well, just so you know what we're voting on, what would be the consequences and the result of increasing the number from 4 to 6? How would we do that?
Where's the other 400 going to sit? Like you were saying before,
I don't know.
you can't spread them out 6 feet like the guidelines. They're not going to be happy anyway when they got to wear a mask. People now don't like to wear masks, and when the new guidelines say you don't have to in some places. So I don't know where you're going to put the other 400 people safely.
I'm concerned about the logistics also, and going basically against the guidelines, even though at this time, well, I guess the guidelines was it the 27th you had up there is when they would change again?
28th is when they would change.
28th it was. So we would technically be changing something that's out of guideline at this point, since our ceremony is previous to that date.
I would disagree with that statement, because I don't think that the spirit of the motion is to violate a guidance. I think the spirit of the motion is to change our footprint to accommodate families of graduates.
Is that what you're looking at, Angie? Since you made the motion?
Sure, however it would work.
See, this is where this is getting awfully, okay, you're making motions on whatever works. All right, that's not how we operate as a school district. That's not how we've ever operated as a school district since I've been here. Okay, we don't do whatever works. All right, that's why you have an administration. Okay, so I can tell you, we will work with families to accommodate their needs. That's what I can tell you. But for you making a motion to do whatever works, to add 400 tickets to graduation, is not how we've operated as a district. You're diving into operations.
Disagree with that statement. The motion is not for whatever works. The motion is that it move from 4 tickets to 6 tickets. And of course, as a district, we would have to move all of the pieces to accommodate guidelines.
So my input would be that we didn't vote to do 4, so why would we vote to do 6? We really have to be careful here that we're not overstepping. We are a governance board, and we're gonna get close to overstepping this management piece, you guys. This is my concern, and we can have debate about that, but that has to be stated. You know, we didn't make the decision to give 4. So how can we really legitimately change that decision to 6? That's a concern.
Yeah, Dennis?
If we stay with the 4, but it's communicated to every senior that as the need arises, and it doesn't have to be extenuating circumstances, I believe it can be the need arises or has to be there, then it still, I believe, would allow the families that want or feel that they need more can do that. And at the point that the school district allows that to happen, if the number that they've expanded goes past what's legally allowable, then at that point, creatively, if it is that families that want to observe it have to stand outside of the facility to see it, because it is, maybe it's not a direct line to watch it directly on stage, but allows them to indirectly see it on the big screen, so at least there's still a sense or a part of it, if that's making sense. I still believe that because of, as Kim says, the way we are set up, we honestly can't change that by having a vote to say, well, we weren't a part of making it 4, now we're going to tell the district what to do by making it 6. Can probably create a lot more issues by doing it, trying to do it that way.
Yes, Neil.
I totally get where Aaron's coming from, but in my mind, if it's communicated that if you need to change that and you need 6, then your best effort is to call the district. You know, if it was a case like that, Aaron, do you think you guys can live with something like that?
Yeah, what is the definition of a need is described at the same time, because that's where it's going to come in. Because, I mean, I don't have a gigantic family. I wouldn't say that my situation is a need, but, I mean, as long as that's, you know, that definition of need is given to students, I mean, I think that'd be meant okay.
And if it was just case-by-case basis, I don't like using the word extenuating, but if a family has an opportunity to allow more individuals to observe.
Here's part of the problem, all right? So, yes, okay, we can try to work with, I said we would. We work with families to meet their needs. Because this was thrown at us yesterday, we have no idea what adding 400 people to that grandstand does, all right? Or what our capacity is, or anything like that. And this is where I'm saying, all right, we don't know, okay? So what I can tell you is, all right, if we are going to work with the families to meet their needs, okay, and we encourage them to work with the high school administration to do this. And again, this is the high school administration's plan. They requested 4 tickets. They requested one side of the stadium, all right? And so they know best what's going on there. I don't know as much as, you know, you folks, maybe a little bit more about this. But this is the request coming from the high school administration. I didn't change it from 4 to 6. I said this is something we would look into, and that is what I brought to you tonight. That's kind of where we're at.
Hey, Dennis?
Hypothetical question, so within the stadium proper, we're allowing 4. Who can say if a family decides they want to have a few more people watch, if they're outside of the stadium, can we legally do anything?
No, we can't, but I don't want people to be on the outside of the stadium either. I mean, that's not our intent here.
I get that, but
So what I'm saying is, all right, we can examine to see what we've got, okay, as far as capacity on the home side. And we can look at, okay, maybe not even going to, we've got grass on both sides that we're not counting the capacity on the home side. And there are other things that potentially we could do around the wings without getting into the other side. But we don't know the scope of the need as far as, okay, and again, we can communicate to families, all right, if a need exists, please contact the administration, and we can identify it from there. But to blanket just say, let's give them 400 more tickets, I don't know if I got 400 spots at this point without opening up the other side.
Yeah, Neil?
I think we may have a case of much ado about nothing here, because if we do up the cap to 6 tickets per student, and our community understands the situation we're in and understands that there are still protocols that need to be addressed. I don't think that we would have a flood. We would have every student demanding those 6 tickets. So it's a kind of a moot issue if we leave it the way it is. And some families do request 6. We may end up, if every family, every graduate demanded 6, we'd have 400 people that we would be hard pressed to deal with. If we leave it, somewhat flexible, we may have, 150, 180, and we can probably come up with some creative ways to deal with that. I don't really see that we have a big issue here.
I'll call the question.
Yes. Okay. We're going to do a voice vote on this one also. Excuse me? Roll call vote, yes. Thank you, Jill. And and again, the motion was just to blanket add 2 more tickets to each graduating senior. Correct, Angie? Yes. Okay. I'll start on Bruce's side. Yes for adding, no for not adding. No. Jill? Yes. Neil?
no.
Kim?
No.
Dennis?
No.
Angie?
Yes.
And I vote no also. Okay.
Having said that, we will get an announcement out to senior families that if they have a circumstance where they would like 2 more tickets, there's to contact the high school office.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 10.3 is policy revisions. Kathy?
So the policy committee met on May 3rd to review these 5 policies, which have not significant amount of changes, but some pieces that align with new information or new statute. The first is the tobacco policy, which is 419. And what it added, if you remember, we reviewed this 2 years ago, and it just added some more items that are part of the new world of what is available for smoking, tobacco, and tobacco-related devices. So they've added the aerosol and heated electronic delivery devices. So they are identified here in definitions. They talk about heated tobacco product, which of course produces the aerosol. We continue to exclude those that are legally allowed under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. I know that was a discussion last time we had, and that is still in this policy. So it then defines vaping in particular, which is new to this policy, and vaping means using an activated electronic delivery device or heated tobacco product. So all of that is defined, and then ultimately vaping is added to this policy. Vaping instruction is also added to this policy in talking with the health teachers. This is offered at grade 8 currently at Albert Lee High School. And it is part of our current locally developed health standards, similar to other tobacco prevention education that we offer. Any questions on that policy? The next policy, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just was curious. What happens with staff who do smoke? Where do they go to smoke? Are they allowed to at all?
Not on campus, anywhere.
So they just walk across the streets or nothing?
We're a closed campus. There's no smoking on site anywhere or even in their car.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just curious.
Good question.
Are these recommendations MSBA?
Correct. These are all MSBA red line policies.
Do we need to vote individually on each one, or can we do it as a blanket vote?
I think we can do them all together. Ashley? Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
The second policy is the disposition of obsolete equipment and material. We did review this a few years ago, and the first item is that the items are increased in value from $100,000 to $175,000. They did add a piece on page 2 that talks about data created or maintained by the school district as part of the selection policy is non-public until the selection or evaluation process is completed. And lastly, if you remember a few years ago, there was the addition of exceptions for surplus school computers and allowing them to be purchased by families. And there was a lot of discussion around what that meant, and so there is more definition to that on page 4 of the policy. It defines, first of all, what is a charitable organization, which is a 501c3 of the IRS code, meets that definition. And then, if you choose not to dispose of devices, you would have a very specific process here, written resolution to the board when updating school computers. Has to be for students who would be on site a student the next year. And then if more students apply or try to purchase these devices, there's a process that you prioritize students who receive free or reduced price meals first, and then conduct a lottery. So they added some definition to what it means to allow the sale of school surplus computers. Currently, we use ours up, and so we don't really, haven't fallen into that situation, but it is further defined. Any questions on that policy? Then moving on to school activities, the biggest change in this, in addition to the grammatical and corrections there, is that the school board will ensure that any funds raised for extracurricular activities will be spent only on extracurricular activities. And so that is an addition to this policy, as these funds come under school board guidance. So this is for school activities, conducting fundraisers. So that money can only be raised or used, that is fundraised, can only be used for that school activity.
And the fundraising party would not be connected directly to the school district, then we were talking about like boosters club.
Yes, so these are the Minnesota State High School League, so those groups who do fundraising. Jennifer has gone through that school, how that falls under school board control.
It's money that's raised by sources outside the district then.
It's things like if they're selling Butterberry
for their student activity.
Right.
And then they have to use it, the
For that
students
activity.
get to decide how it's gonna be used within certain guidelines for those students.
Okay, that money then that's raised by a fundraising organization in connection with the students that are involved in the activities, I would assume, then that money becomes under the jurisdiction of the district and can be only used for.
Extracurricular activity, correct. Yep. The next policy, gifts to employees, has added some more definition, and one is that it has added school board members with respects to gifts. Then provides a value that of $5 or less for plaques is not considered a gift to employees. It then goes on and defines school board member, school superintendent, school principal, or district school officer may not accept a gift from an interested person. It defines interested person for you as a representative, a person or representative of an association that has a direct financial intent in a decision that a school board member, superintendent, a school principal, or district school officer is authorized to make. And then just defines that it is a violation of the policy to accept a gift if you fall into that circumstance.
So oftentimes at MSBA, vendors will want to say, hey, we want to take you out to dinner or something. Nope, no can do.
Yeah, so it now includes school board members. And then the vending machine policy is really nothing of significant change. It simply is changing the grammar in the sentence there instead, and very small number of changes there. And it's not grammar. I'm using the wrong word there, Neil. I know you're going to correct me on that. Yes, there you go. So some small changes, but important to update us to stay in line with statute and other changes that are going on.
I'll move approval. Oh, sorry. Move approval for policy 419, 910, 510, 421, and 720.
Thank you, Jill. Is there a second? Second. Dennis seconds. Having the discussion earlier when we're going through each one, I'll just call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Pose the same sign. Thank you, Kathy. They all pass. One final comment before we adjourn. Two comments. Actually, our next meeting will be June 7th. Here is a study session at 5 p.m. and then also in following MSB guidelines at our next meeting to stay consistent with our school district to the end of the school year. Masks will be optional at our school board meetings. At this time, we've got to stay fluid on everything. So, with that being said, Bruce, yes.
Roll for school board at graduation.
Great point, yes. So all 7 of you will be up on the stage in the middle of the field, and we rotate. Normally in a non-COVID environment, we shake hands and we hand out diplomas. How we will operate it this year is we will push diplomas forward, and then the graduates can just grab one as they come across. So the diplomas are blank holders, so there's no graduate's name within them. So we have a table set up. 2 board members at a time can kind of come up and push, and then just clap hands as they walk across the stage.
What time should we be there?
6:40, 6:45.
6:40?
Yeah, and then the other thing is we have the graduation for the ALC, which we haven't talked about tonight at all, which is at 6 o'clock on Thursday. So be there about 15 minutes early for that one too. Yep, and that's at the high school auditorium.
Yep. And then we'll have parking at the field house.
So it's park by the field house parking lot, and we'll have that reserved for you.
We only have
One ceremony.
Yes, a big upgrade. Okay. That being said, then I adjourn the meeting for tonight. Thank you for coming.